y'all, it's Hope from Crafty Hope, and welcome. I'm participating in the Be Creative Challenge from Terry Jeanette of the Tapping Flamingo. She's got hashtag Be Creative Feb 2022 for this month's reveal, and you were able to work with the words either Mardi Gras or love. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you now I'm using both of them because who doesn't love love? And then, secondly, I'm from Mobile, which is the historic home of Mardi Gras in the United States. It's true. We Mobilians are super annoying about it. Yeah. So we'll get into that in a little bit, but let's start with our loved one. Since Valentine's Day was yesterday, I think we better just hop on in there before it gets too much later. So I had this heart and arrow toggle clasp, which I think is from Vintage from several years ago. So it's been lingering in my stash forever. And I decided to pull it out for this challenge, and I'm going to pick out some pink beads and some silver beads to go with it. I'm using my big box of bead soup that's sorted by color. So I'm starting with the pink beads, picking out some that are about the size I want, and then some smaller silver beads to go between them. There we go. I've got them all picked out. I've also got some beading wire. I actually went to go grab that bead stopper, and this beading wire was already there attached to it. And since I have a broken ankle, I thought, good, I don't have to go fishing for anything else. I'll just use what I've got here. So I'm going to put that bead stopper on one end, and then I'm just going to start stringing up these beads on that beading wire. I'm going to alternate silver, pink, silver, pink, silver, pink, all the way to the end. I don't know why it's taking me so long to decide where to start, but that's all I'm going to do, string these beads on. I am going to cut some of this out because y'all don't need to see me just repeat this. Now I'm going to go ahead and admit to you that after I get this made, I realized that somehow I had put two silver beads next to each other and this bracelet is going to be too long. So I end up going back in later. You will not see the finished product and remaking this bracelet the exact same way. No big deal. So I'm going to get these strung on here. And this is an easy process, y'all. I'll also admit to you that I don't work with beading wire a whole lot. I am very much just a wire kind of girl. I love to make me some wrap loops. But every time you got to go back to your roots. This is where I started, was with beading wire and crimp beads. That's my old school um how I learned to make jewelry, where I started. And so I thought I'd show you how to do it in case you're just starting this creative jewelry making journey yourself. All right, so I have got all of those strung, and y'all, I am just using my own wrist to measure this, and I still got it too big. And you're gonna see here, I measure it, and I'm like, yeah, that's great, that's fine. I didn't take into account that I was gonna add jump rings and those toggles and all of that. I just wasn't thinking. So I pulled out some crimp tubes, and I have strung one here, and well, I've strung it on there, but there it is. And I'm going to go back through it with the beading wire and then pull my beading wire out the other side to basically make a loop. And I'm going to pull that loop down, down, down until it's just the size that I need. And I'm going to hold that wire, trying to make sure that the wire doesn't cross over itself. This is going to be a much better crimp if it doesn't cross. So I have my crimping pliers, and it has two slots. I'm going to use the first slot to press that down just a little bit, and then the second slot to bend it a little bit, and then change my pliers to 90-degree position and crimp down that there. Crimp it down just like that. And then I'm going to trim it with some wire cutters. Now, y'all, I would normally use some more dainty wire cutters, but since I'm working in a makeshift craft space and just happen to have these honkin' ones, my more heavy duty ones for heavy gauge wire, that's what I'm using. Normally I would use the more dainty, delicate flush cutters, but I'm working with what I got today. So once that's in there, I make sure that where I cut it is kind of tucked in to the bracelet, into the bead below it, so that there's nothing there that's going to scrape or scratch anybody. And I'm going to repeat this process on the other side. Put on a crimp tube, put that beading wire into the crimp tube, pull it out the other side, and then start pulling that wire down to make a small loop. And then I'm going to crimp it the same manner with that crimp plier or crimping tool, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty standard jewelry tool for anybody that does stringing. Now, you can crimp bead, especially a bead instead of a tube with just some pliers, but you've got to be delicate. Crimp tubes and beads will break if you use too much force on them. It's just one of those things that you've got to play with to kind of get the feel of. All right, so I'm going to trim this one, and then I've come in with a couple of jump rings, and I've got some chain nose pliers and some bent nose pliers. I like using the two flat pliers to open and close jump rings, and I can just twist it open like that. You never pull apart a jump ring, you always twist it, or you're going to end up with a distorted jump ring. And then I'm slipping on the two sides of my toggle clasp, first one, then the other. Now the stick portion, that toggle part of it, I'm putting on the side that has smaller beads on it because I want to make sure that when you use that clasp, it can fit through the loop tart. Does that make sense? I want to make sure it's got plenty of room to work the way it's supposed to work. And so I'm closing these securely, wiggling them a little bit to make sure they are completely closed, and my love bracelet is done. I actually called this my Cupid bracelet. Valentine's Day was yesterday, so once I got this remade, I took it up to the antique store where I sell my jewelry in a booth. So that's up there for somebody to have for Valentine's Day if they want. Now the second thing is my Mardi Gras submission. I am using purple and gold for this because the traditional Mardi Gras colors in Mobile are purple and gold. I know you think there needs to be green, but that's more of a New Orleans thing or a general Mardi Gras theme. But Mobile, it's purple and gold. And so that's what I'm doing. And I am also incorporating these two little charms. They are little rhinestone charms that I found in my stash. I like to take apart old jewelry and upcycle it into things. And these charms, excuse me, came from some old jewelry. So we're going to use it in this pair of earrings. So I am kind of laying out my design for myself, and I've got some 22 gauge gold colored para wire. I love 22 gauge wire. It is my jam. It is my go-to gauge of wire. So I'm just pulling at a length that I know will be enough for both earrings. And we're just going to work with the whole length at one time. I'm not going to cut it down into two pieces because it's just easier for me to just work with the whole thing. So I'm straightening the wire out with my hands. I could also use some nylon jaw pliers, but my hand is fine for this. And using my round nose pliers, I made a 90-degree angle about an inch from the end, and then I'm creating a loop in the wire. I'm going to open that and slip on one of my little charms that we're upcycling. And then I'm going to close that loop with my chain nose pliers and create my wrap. Now, I loved wrap loops because they are so secure. Now, if you like simple loops, those are fine too, but I dig me a wrapped loop. And for me, it's the most comfortable thing to use my fingers to begin my wraps and then turn it and use my pliers to finish it. When it gets so small that the wire gets pokey on my fingers, I pull the pliers out to help tuck down that little end of the wire. You do what works for you. There are a lot of people that use the pliers the whole time for their wrap and their tucking and all of that. But I really like the tactileness of using my fingers to make that wrap loop. It's just a me thing. Now I'm always super big on making sure there's no pokey parts, so I worked on that quite a bit. And I'm going to start adding my beads. I've got a large, I think both of my purple beads are dyed white jade, possibly. So I put my first bead on, and then I've got a rhinestone spacer bead, another purple bead, and then a gold bead cap that goes on top. And those are my purple and gold beads from Mobile Mardi Gras, y'all. So to finish this, I'm going to create another wrapped loop. Now I'm looking at this to make sure that my rhinestone spacer will hang in the front of this. So I'm going to make my loop opposite of what the loop on the bottom is. So one's kind of going front and back, and this one I'm making is going to go side to side. It's really hard to explain, but when you're making it, you'll understand. So I've bent my wire and I'm making my loop, and then I'm going to wrap that tail of that wire around. And I always wrap about 3 times around. For me, that's just what it is. And my wraps are always pretty neat. I have a hard time making messy wraps. There's some people that's what they do is messy wraps on their loops, but I can't do it. Um, so I've made my loop and I'm making sure again that that wire is getting tucked in there and that my loop is flat. And now I'm going to trim this, and oh, my wire went over there. And then I'm going to grab those chain nose pliers again and tuck that little bit of wire that's poking up, flatten that, and then I'll grab the chain nose pliers and just twist open the loop on my ear wire and slip on my earring. Now, like I said, Valentine's Day was yesterday, and I hope you had a beautiful day. Mardi Gras actually started about the Mardi Gras season started about 2.5 weeks ago here in this area, in the Mobile area. Um, but Mardi Gras isn't actually until March 1st, so you have plenty of time to make yourself a pair of Mardi Gras earrings too. So I hope you'll do that. Let me know if you have any questions about making earrings or bracelets or jewelry making. I am happy to answer them. Oh, and just like that, I made the second one. It was magic. Mardi Gras magic. All right, guys, let me know if you have any questions. Make sure to give me a big thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you for coming by and watching, and go be creative. Thanks for watching, y'all. Bye.